know what worries me about Aaron Rodgers? And Aaron is a guy I suggested a while ago would make sense for this Giant team as the perfect bridge because he gives you a chance to win in the short term.
Absolutely. And he wants to win in the short term. He wants to be great because of what happened over the last couple of years.
100%. And then he could kind of hand that baton to a young quarterback, probably somebody you draft. But what worries me is right now there are two teams who are bidding on Aaron Rodgers. The Pittsburgh Steelers and the New York Giants. And besides the obvious of what the Steelers can offer, a Hall of Fame head coach.
I like Mike Tomlin.
A very talented roster. What I always was drawn in by is that the Giants could sit Rodgers down and tell him the hard truth. And the hard truth is we're going to do it my way. We're not going to do it your way. And the hard truth is, hey, there's a possibility 9-10 weeks into the season, we're making a quarterback change. We hope we don't.
No chance.
Oh, I
don't think that would happen.
But if you're drafting a young quarterback,
yes,
don't you think that opportunity is really always there?
You'd have to really suck.
You think so?
Yeah, they'd have to be really bad.
What if you love what you're seeing from the young quarterback in practice?
I don't think it matters. Because if you're winning and Aaron Rodgers is taking you where you need to be, you're not sitting him. This is not going to be a repeat of 2004 with Kurt Warner and Eli Manning, where they sat him down. We were 5-4. There's no way Aaron Rodgers would. It wouldn't make sense for this team.
So
because ultimately you'd end up losing a lot.
So what is Brian Daboll and Joe Schoen telling Aaron Rodgers and his agent when they're trying to recruit them? You're the guy?
You are a guy for 2025, and when 2020, we'll see what happens in 2026. That's probably what they're saying.
Are they telling him, hey, it is very likely we're bringing in a young man via the draft, maybe someone we even trade up for to sit and learn behind you? Are they telling him that?
Yeah, probably. I mean, why not?
I think you got to be honest.
You got to be honest with them.
Absolutely.
And so I think we've seen the history of Aaron Rodgers not being told the whole truth, what's happened in Green Bay with Jordan Love. And so there's no need to anger him. There's no need to be desperate for him. It's tell him exactly what you want, what your plan is. And again, there's a plan B. If they don't get Aaron Rodgers and they don't like Russell Wilson, you go get Jacoby Brissett or whoever. I don't care what the name is. There's a bunch of them out there. You go get that guy, and then you don't have to worry about the ego of the starting quarterback when you ultimately decide to go to the rookie, whoever that rookie may be.
That may be the one benefit of it not being Aaron Rodgers, that move, if you decide to make it, is easier to make if you're benching Carson Wentz or Jacoby Brissett than if you're benching Aaron Rodgers. The negative to it is Aaron Rodgers gives you the best chance to win. And one thing I think we're seeing by this Giant offseason so far is they are trying to win in the short term while also building something towards the future because they're in a very tricky spot right now where you've got a head coach and you've got a general manager that's on a hot seat. So they got to win games. Clearly they got to win games, but it's also about building towards something bigger than that. That's clearly their plan. What I wonder about with Rodgers, you lay out the scenario where they're winning games. If they're winning games, they don't sit him. If they're winning games and not pulling a Kurt Warner, okay, I'd buy that, especially because of what I just laid out about the coaching staff. Very different than when Tom Coughlin was here because it was the beginning of the Tom Coughlin era.
Yes.
What if Aaron Rodgers sort of repeats what happened last year with the Jets?
That's a different story.
Where he's not bad, but the team is.
Yeah, if the team is, if they're not over 500 at, say, the midway point, or whatever, pick a number, pick a date, whatever it is, then it's everything's on the table. You have to, because you then now have to get desperate to make an impression that's going to allow you to keep your job. I'm talking about from a GM head coach standpoint. And if Aaron Rodgers isn't winning, even though he's not playing great, something's got to change. That's I think that was not I'm trying to think. The Jets didn't really have another option.
No, they didn't. I mean, Tyrod Taylor?
Yeah.
They weren't going to another veteran.
Right. What were you going to do? There was nothing for the Jets to do, but there was a point in the season where it was like, look, all due respect to you, Aaron, this is not working.
Right.
We have to make a change. But they couldn't make a change.
Because they didn't have that option. The Giants are going to have that option. And I think that's the other aspect of where I just don't have confidence he's going to say yes to the Giants today. Because if you're Aaron Rodgers and you're making a decision, and right now it sounds like it is strictly a decision between the New York Giants and the Pittsburgh Steelers. That's it. The Minnesota Vikings seem content on J.J. McCarthy and giving an opportunity for him to be the starting quarterback. And there doesn't seem to be any other team that's swooping in here on Aaron Rodgers. That is literally the Steelers and the Giants. And if you're Aaron Rodgers and you're making the decision the way I like to make decisions, which is you write down a pro column and a con column, one of the cons is there is an avenue, some would say, I would say, a realistic avenue to where you're getting benched by the New York Giants. I don't think you're getting benched by the Pittsburgh Steelers. The Steelers are going all in. The Steelers are saying, you're our quarterback. They'll have some kind of veteran backup just in case he gets hurt. But Mike Tomlin and the Steelers, they're going for it. They're not benching you barring some kind of unmitigated disaster. And also in New York, he knows what we know, which is he joins an organization where everybody's on the hot seat. Mm-hmm. So to me, the only reason Aaron Rodgers would pick to remain here in this area, and this is not a bad reason, by the way. Like, when I'm writing down my pro and con list, trust me, my wife would have this one in bold and say, this is the number one pro. And it's simple. And anyone who has a wife or husband knows why this would be a big deal. He just bought a house. Like, literally, he just built that. Did he have the house built, Teak?
Yeah. No, it was already built, and I think he renovated it.
Oh, my God.
He did some renovations. So it's just, it's a gorgeous home. It's unbelievable.
Think about that
Even though it's out this way, there's a view of the city.
How about that?
Not this way, obviously, because we're in the city. But when I say this way, I think near my home in Florham Park, even though it's out in the, not close to New York, there's a view of New York.
That
tells you how great it is.
That may ultimately be the reason. All you got to do is think about this, all right? You just got a job. You think it's going to be a long-term job. If for whatever reason it doesn't work out.
Either way, it's an investment.
It's an investment.
The house is an investment.
You build a house or you renovate a house, you have this, and you love this house.
I'll give you the reason why, ultimately, he could pick the Giants. But keep going.
Besides the house?
Yeah.
Okay. Love the house. I don't want to get rid of the house. How often am I going to visit the house, especially if I'm living in Pittsburgh? The odds are I'm probably going to have to sell it. So I think that in that pro-Giants column, no offense to anyone listening, it ain't going to be Brian Daboll. It's not going to be MetLife Stadium. It's not even necessarily going to be just Malik Neighbors, because the Steelers offer DK Metcalf and George Pickens and a damn good tight end and a very talented roster. Even you Giant fans, you guys are great fans, don't get me wrong. The Steeler fans, the black and gold, they're very exciting. It's the house. Now, what's the other reason that I'm missing on the Rodgers house on why he would pick the Giants?
And if you've spent any time listening to Aaron Rodgers, understanding what his motivations are, when he first came to the New York Jets, he started talking about that lonely trophy from 1969, and it makes you realize that there is a gene, not literal, but a gene about Aaron Rodgers that drives him. Hero complex.
Hero complex.
So Aaron Rodgers wants to be your hero. Aaron Rodgers wants to make everything right. He knew he was getting the Jets to the playoffs and ultimately to a Super Bowl. He basically said, there are a handful of teams that are Super Bowl viable. We are one of them. Mm-hmm. Aaron Rodgers has a hero complex. And Aaron Rodgers, if he thinks about it, and he thinks about the Pittsburgh Steelers, who have had decades. I'm not just talking about with Mike Tomlin. You can go all the way back to Coach Cowher, and hell, even before that. Decades, generations of success. He would just be a piece. If he comes to the Giants after a decade of ineffectiveness, say for one playoff appearance, he could be the hero that changes and fixes them. So, look, I'm not saying that's going to be the reason, but if I'm Aaron Rodgers and thinking how Aaron Rodgers thinks, he probably something to that with the New York Giants.
But I have to actually compliment the franchise you are a part of and the franchise that you guys root for. Mm-hmm. The New York Giants have won 4 Super Bowl championships.
Of course they have, but the narrative about them right now is don't go there.
I totally get it.
This place is a disaster.
Totally get it.
Hell, even the fans are getting on the owner for no reason. So it's one of those situations where, yes, there are shiny trophies everywhere. There are legends that populate MetLife Stadium and the Ring of Honor and the Hall of Fame. Mm-hmm. They're all there, right? But for the last decade, fans don't want to go to the stadium. They don't want to watch this team. Mm-hmm. All they can do is talk trash about this team mm-hmm. and complain about how bad it is. Right? They don't have an institutional memory of the success and realize that sometimes you go through crap. Right? Who is it? The Dufresne from Shawshank Redemption. Sometimes you crawl through miles of what.
Andy Dufresne.
Andy Dufresne.
I know, but
right. That's what the Giants are going through right now.
I know, but to Steeler fans, I know this is going to sound really, really weird, but to Steeler fans, they look at what's happened over the last decade, and obviously it's not the same.
I don't want to hear from Steeler fans.
Giants have won a Super Bowl more recently than the Steelers.
It doesn't matter.
That's how they're measured over there.
You have a chance to at least get to the Super Bowl. Okay. Every single year.
I will make this argument to you, and maybe I say this with my own opposite of hero complex. I'm a Jet fan. I root for a lot of crappy franchises. If Aaron Rodgers came to New York or remained in New York, played for the Giants, and let's say they won the Super Bowl. Hear me out. Pulls off a miracle. They win a Super Bowl.
Yep.
He would be beloved here, no question about it, but he will never be Eli Manning, and he will never be Phil Simms.
It doesn't matter.
If he wins with the Jets or won with the Jets, he would have been a god.
I don't think that matters. Because it's look. This,
but you said he has a hero complex,
and the Giants fan would thank him profusely.
So you think
forever.
the Giants have been bad enough for a decade where Rodgers would look at the Giants, similar but not the same to the Jets, and say, "I can save you,
dude. We're going to rise again."
If the Giants go win 8 or 9 games with Aaron Rodgers this year, and he saves Brian Dable's job, and he turns that ship the right way and eventually hands it off to a rookie quarterback, Giant fans will always look fondly on Aaron Rodgers as the god that was given to change it without even winning a Super Bowl.
Right.
He goes to Pittsburgh and wins 9 games again, well, then what's the Steeler fan narrative? You're not any better than Russell Wilson was here.
No, I think the bar, you're right that the bar in Pittsburgh is championship.
So much high.
Yeah.
It's so much
I agree
higher.
with that.
They are trying to win a Super Bowl
because they've already done that, make the playoff thing.
They do
done
it every year.
Except they lose every year.
Of course.
So I agree that it's the next step. But I think that both of these franchises are franchises that it's not the Jets. It's different than the Jets. He came here talking about a trophy that grew cobwebs from over 50 years ago. You know what I mean?
I know. I met Aaron Rodgers once, a couple times, but I don't know Aaron Rodgers. But when I think about what motivates him, he's had 2 really bad seasons with the Jets. One, not really his fault because of the Achilles injury. And then last year, it was like recovery still from that Achilles, trying to get everything to mesh, bringing in Devontae Adams mid-stroke. Like, it just became one of those, it didn't work out. And he doesn't want to go out like that. Like, he has this pride about him where he wants to control his destiny, his narrative, and going out a loser is not part of that equation. Let's think about it. His last couple of years in Green Bay, like, they always ultimately fell short, but the dude was winning MVPs, man.
Yeah,
right. There is a pride and an attention to being great that I appreciate about Aaron Rodgers, despite all the nonsense that follows him at times, because too many guys in the league, they don't care. Right? It's like, whatever, I'm making good money. You can see it when a guy wants to be great. I know Aaron Rodgers wants to be great.
So you think that the hero complex that Aaron Rodgers has would be one of the things that could potentially bring him to the Giants?
Yes.
Because to me, trying to be an IFO on this, the only thing that would bring him to the Giants is simply he likes his beautifully new renovated house.
Dude, that house is gorgeous.
And you know what?
I'm telling you, go look it up.
I'm
sure. You can find it. Aaron Rodgers, house in New Jersey.
I'm
it is
sure.
Unbelievable.
And you know what, Giant fans? Here's the way I've looked at it with free agents in the past that have somehow selected my team. Whether it's Juan Soto or it's Kevin Durant or it was Aaron Rodgers to begin with. I don't actually care why you pick my team. Just pick my team. So we'll find out today. Giant fans, do you want Aaron Rodgers, and do you think he'd actually pick you over the Pittsburgh Steelers? And if it's not Rodgers, do you want Wilson? And if it's not Wilson, who the hell do you want? We'll get your calls coming up, 888-808-1019. Plus, if you missed it, at the end of yesterday's radio program, like the final minutes of the show, Tiki Barber unleashed one of the great rants in FAN history, and it sparked an idea of mine. We'll replay the rant. I'll give you the idea. Plus, there are some Giant fans not happy with the early days of NFL free agency. We will air Giant fan grievances. A lot to do on a busy Tuesday. Plus, anytime there's breaking news, whether it's the Yankees swooping in and adding somebody because Garrett Cole's down for the season, or it's an NFL free agent move, you will hear the glass break, and we will break the news for you throughout this program. 888-808-1019.